All right, today we're jumping into a really fascinating piece of tech called Delta Force. It's basically a design for solving one of the oldest, hardest problems in the digital world. How can a totally safe, private system reach out and touch the chaotic, messy internet without getting infected by it? Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the boundary problem. That's the whole why behind this thing. Then we'll properly meet Delta Force itself. After that, we'll walk through exactly how one of its missions works, from beginning to end. Then we'll dig into the security that makes it all tick. And finally, the really exciting part, what a system like this actually makes possible.
Okay, first up, the boundary problem. This is really the fundamental challenge that gets to the heart of why Delta Force even needs to exist. You can think of it like this. You want to build an impenetrable fortress, but you still need a way to get messages and supplies in and out. So you don't just need a wall, you need a very, very smart gate. And this question just nails it, doesn't it? I mean, think about your own digital life. You want your stuff to be safe, to be private, to be yours. But you have to connect to the outside world to do, well, pretty much anything. And that world is often noisy, hostile, and it seems like everyone is trying to get something from you. So how do you open that door just a crack without letting all that chaos come flooding in?
Well, in this system, the answer is incredibly simple and absolute. There is one way in and one way out. Its name is Delta Force. It's not just an option, it is the only option. It is the single, heavily guarded choke point in an otherwise seamless wall. Nothing, and I mean nothing, else gets to cross that digital border, that membrane.
Okay, so we know the problem it's designed to solve. But what is Delta Force, really? To get our heads around it, it's actually just as important to understand what it isn't as what it is.
And this is where the design gets really clever. See, Delta Force is not some always-on bridge that's just open 24/7, and it's definitely not a surveillance system constantly crawling the web. No, it's way better described as a temporary execution capsule. Think of it less like a permanent bridge and more like a disposable messenger that you send out on one very specific errand. It has no authority to freelance or do anything else. It's a specialist.
And this right here, this is the philosophy that drives the entire thing. The prime rule. It's absolute. Every single action, whether it's going out or coming in, requires explicit, conscious human approval. Nothing gets in without being checked at the door, and absolutely nothing leaves by accident. It's all about intent.
So with that golden rule in mind, let's get practical. How does one of these missions actually work from start to finish? The life cycle is super disciplined, and it's designed for maximum safety at every single stage.
Check this out. It all begins inside the safe zone, when the system realizes it needs something from the outside. So it creates a plan, a mission packet. But here's the key. This plan can't actually do anything. It's just a blueprint. For anything to happen, it has to pass step 3, the human approval gate. A real person has to look at the plan and digitally sign off on it. No signature, no mission. It's that simple. If, and only if, it's approved, a temporary Delta Force instance is created. It goes out, does its one very specific job, delivers the results back, and then, and this is the coolest part, it immediately self-terminates. Poof, it's gone. It only exists for the mission, and not a single second longer.
Now, if you understand that life cycle, you're already starting to understand the security. See, it isn't just one single feature. It's a fortress built with many different layers of trust and safety, and they all work together. So the most important idea is this. The default state is always no. The door is always shut, locked, and bolted. There are no secret backdoors, no persistent connections just hanging open waiting for trouble. Access is the rare exception to the rule, an exception that has to be explicitly granted for one specific mission. And as soon as it's done, that door slams shut again.
And here's how that paranoid philosophy protects you in a real-world situation like making a crypto payment. Delta Force basically acts like a hyper-cautious assistant. It confirms your intent before any coins move, it cryptographically verifies the destination address, it even checks for nasty malware that tries to secretly change the address when you copy and paste. If there is any doubt, any ambiguity at all, the action is just canceled. It puts your safety above everything else.
Okay, but here's the question you have to ask, right? This all sounds great, but this little agent is operating out there in the wild west of the internet. What happens if a mission goes sideways and the Delta Force agent itself gets hacked by an attacker?
And the answer is just so beautifully simple and powerful. A compromised agent is a useless agent. It has no authority to do anything other than its original, now failed mission. It can't get back into the internal system, it can't attack anything else, it has no memory of past operations. For an attacker, it's a complete dead end.
So it just dies. The mission fails, the data is tossed, and the internal system remains completely, totally untouched.
So let that sink in. This is a system that's literally designed to fail safely. So let's zoom out. If you can actually build this secure membrane around your digital life, what does that really enable? What does that make possible?
Honestly, it enables a whole new way of interacting with the world. You could engage with the global internet without constantly exposing your core system to risk. You could conduct business and commerce with a drastically lower chance of fraud. You could communicate without your inbox being buried in spam. You could get the information you need from the world without being subjected to constant surveillance. It's really about getting all the benefits of being connected without having to accept all of the terrible risks we've all just gotten used to.
And that leaves us with one final big question. We've just looked at a system built on explicit human intent, on temporary missions, and on the core principle of failing safely. When you look at all the endless problems of today's internet, the spam, the fraud, the surveillance, you can't help but wonder, is this the blueprint for a better one?